All right. So should we get recording? I don't know how much gas I got left in the tank. It's been a long day, so probably should get going on things. Did you have anything you want to talk about particularly?
That was some sort of garbage I was doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and saved over something I'll have to fix. Okay. Anyway. I was just looking for what I was going to work on. I was thinking I might work on them tree things, but maybe I'll do that.
Did you ever find that portrait of Igor Larionov?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Are you going to share it on the podcast, or is that going to be a private interaction?
I'll wait until I get it to... It's in the wrong file format.
Oh, okay.
I found it, and I have to pass it through... convert it through Blender and stuff. So, because I did a thing to reduce the poly count and all this. Whatever. It's in the wrong file format, so I can't really work on it. I can look at it, but...
Sounds like an excuse.
It is. It doesn't mean it's not true. But, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Another
I
time?
did find it. I found it actually today. I was like, oh, that's where I put that, in the wrong place. And then I've moved it to the right place. Okay. But, yeah.
Sure.
I can't really do anything with it at the moment.
That's fine.
Yeah. So what have you been doing?
I'm working on a hockey piece. Mika Kiprasov. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that for? Just...
Well, I don't have any... I've been trying to get some work with...
Kiprasov?
No, I'm going to try to send it to the Flames. They think they're going to retire his jersey this year or next year. So it might be... they don't have an official artist. You know, there's only 2 artists that I could find that were licensed with the NHLPA to do art for teams. And, you know, there's a lot of... I've worked for some companies that do sports card art, you know?
Yep.
Like trading card stuff. And I don't have anything like that in my portfolio, so I figured I'd do something and see if I can, you know, something to work on in my spare time, when I have spare time. You know, I'd like to finish it this month, but I only seem to ever get to work on it for an hour here, half hour there, or 2 hours here and there, you know. But
yeah.
I'd like to finish it. One of the things that really got me into art was, do you remember the 1992 Upper Deck card set, the one that everybody had?
Yep.
Yeah, there was a painting of Ed Belfour in his hockey mask. It was like one of the it was the card where it had the checklist for all the players in the Blackhawks that year.
Okay.
And it was a painting of Eddie Belfour in the goalie mask. And I remember at the time just being blown away. I'm like, what? Goalies wear masks like that? That's awesome. I want to be a goalie.
Really?
Yeah. And then I played hockey the next year. My first year played hockey. But couldn't afford to be a goalie.
I don't think... I did the play goal a couple of times when you're little guy.
Yeah.
And... that was it. There was no...
Yeah, no, I couldn't afford the gear to play. And that was just sort of how it went. It wasn't because I didn't want to, or I thought I was pretty good at it, but no, I couldn't afford to play. So I played out instead. But yeah, that was just a major inspiration for me, and I've always wanted to try doing it. To be honest, it's a lot of work. Like, if you can see here, but like... the goalie mask is you're emulating another artist's work within, so it's like a painting of a painting within a painting. You know what I mean? Like it's
on the
and the masks are so detailed with all the text and the graphics, and yeah, it's not as simple as just doing a painting. And plus with the goalie equipment and all the text and everything, you know, it's a challenging piece, right? But you know, challenges are good. I think it'll turn out when it's done, and.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's yeah. I don't have any kind of. At one point, I maybe could have done something to hook you up with somebody associated with the Flames, but no more. So don't.
Oh, did you know somebody who worked for them?
Yep. Before.
Yeah.
Well, more my dad did. So,
Oh, okay.
you know, Brad McCrimmon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd your dad know him?
He played with him on the PA Raiders.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know your dad played for the Raiders.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Sure did. Was the captain.
Captain of the Raiders?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So was he like a hard-ass hockey dad?
No. No, I think probably because of playing, fairly high caliber, it was definitely more about like making it fun. Like he always wanted, like he coached and stuff, and it was always about like making it fun for the kids. So
Really? Did he have
that was good.
Did he have a bad turn, like a experience, or he just?
Oh,
that's just
no.
who he was?
I think just because of having played at higher caliber, right? Like you realize what it takes or what goes into it, so you don't. It's more about the fun. Like if a kid's gonna go further, they're gonna go further. But
Right.
if they're not, like why make that time bad for them?
Right. I always find it interesting talking to guys, NHL prospects or guys who played semi-pro or whatever back in the day, because it was so different. A guy on my hockey team, his dad played for the North Stars in the 70s. He blew out his knee. Matty Cook, I forget Warren Cook, I think is his dad's name. And he played for the North Stars. And I had a high school coach, a football coach, and he played for the Penguins. And a guy who used to work for my dad, he was one hell of a hockey player, really good, but he was too small, at the time. And he didn't get a break, right? Whereas nowadays you see smaller guys, they get more opportunity. And
sometimes, you have to be pretty good still if you're
small,
too small. Like,
well, he's like my height or taller, so he's no Theron Fleury, right? Like he was
so
big enough,
not,
right?
He would be below average for the NHL, but not.
But in the 80s, that was.
But he's not tiny. Yeah.
No, but he had a lot of skill. I think a lot of it's just lucky breaks and who you know. I hear about parents now. Like I don't know if your boys are going to get into hockey or not, but you talk to parents about some of the stuff. I used to work with a lady whose son was trying to get on with. He was trying to get on with the WHL team and just the politics and all that stuff. It really sounded very.
It's
tough.
Weird. Like I don't. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I tried out for Regina, but it's weird. Like it felt weird being there. Like they kind of made it clear they owned you, and that was very strange. Like it's kind of all about wanting to go play hockey, but I had never had any kind of killer instinct for it, right? Like it was, if it stopped being fun, I was not into it anymore. So,
well, how did you get a tryout with the Pats? Did you just show up, or was it? You said Regina.
No, man, I was fucking good.
Oh no!
I don't know. I guess I wasn't that good because I didn't play for them. But there was
to show up for a tryout.
It was scouts. Like got scouted to go to tryout. And
okay.
I don't think it's uncommon though. Like they bring a lot of people out. It's not like I was not special. There was a lot that went to tryouts and stuff. So, but yeah, they did scouting and said come out and try to play hockey and not be terrible at it. And
yeah, did you get lots of fights?
No. No, I was not a.
Well, I knew guys who tried out for dub teams and they couldn't. Like they just said they basically that's all they did was fight.
No,
it was all they did. Like camps were just fights. That's all you did.
And No, I was the 1 year I got most sportsmanlike I was the only guy on the team who got in a fight. so there, that tells you. I don't know, but no, not a fighter.
No,
not a fighter at all. I wouldn't know what to do. I get punched in the head, and then like 3 minutes after the fight, I realize I'm angry. So it doesn't. I don't know how to go into that.
Oh, I perfected that one. You just put your head down and start swinging, preferably when the guy's back is turned. No, when I played junior, I got lots of fights, but it was different. We weren't trying to kill each other.
You played
junior C. Yeah.
Junior C. So that's city and what?
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And just outside, or?
Yeah, community basically. It wasn't anything special, but I got lots of fights. It was, it was fun. I missed junior hockey. I thought I had a great time playing. It was probably some of the best hockey I ever played. Right, just a good pace. Yeah. Everyone knows what you're doing, and you're just having a good time. And then you're old enough to go for beers after the games and that kind of stuff. Right? It was fun. Good times. I don't know how we ended up talking about that, but anyway.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I don't. I definitely don't. They were not my glory days by any stretch. I don't. It was fun, but that's it. It was fun, I guess. Yeah, that's all.
It'll be stories to tell your grandkids.
I guess. Yeah, be like, I kind of half played once. And they'll be like, whatever.
Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, your dad was the... Yeah, okay, what did Grandpa do?
Yeah. Oh, no, he actually played.
I know. They'll just rather hear his stories, right? They'll be like, yeah, okay, Dad, thanks. So, Grandpa, how did it work for you?
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, I wanted to talk about Guardians of the Frickin' Galaxy.
That's a good idea.
What a great movie. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, did you take your boys?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, wow. we all went. We went to Edmonton.
You went in Edmonton?
Yeah, so you have to...
Okay, so it wasn't a perfect cinema experience, but close enough.
Yeah, you hold down the retching and you go and you watch the movie.
Yeah, you just pinch your nose and just go from there, right? But... Any Edmontonians listening to this, fuck, Edmonton doesn't stink.
I didn't say it stunk. I said I just had to stop from vomiting. It had nothing to do with stink. I don't know. I have nothing to say. I'm from Saskatchewan.
It was funny. I was sitting there talking with this guy today, and at this picnic, and he's from Edmonton, and we were joking, and he's not a fan one way or the other, but his wife had indicated he was from Calgary. I'm like, oh yeah, where are you from? He's like, well, actually, I'm from Edmonton. I'm like, oh. I can see why you claim you're from Calgary. We're just ribbing each other. It's funny.
That's like when anybody mentions they're from Regina.
Yeah.
They're like, well, yeah, everybody's from Regina.
Yeah. It's the best place to be from, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I know we'll get back to Guardians.
Throwing off all sorts of hate for cities here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was talking to. I was reading. There's a Calgary Puck. It's a web forum where Flames fans get on, talk about stuff, right? And they have this one thread that's like 5 million pages long, and it's basically the Edmonton Oilers are no good, and it's hilarious. It's just ripping the Oilers, right? And whenever someone starts to get a little too serious talking about the Oilers, someone will cut in and say, "Whoa, remember the Oilers suck." And then they'll go, "Oh, okay, sorry. Get back to just hacking on the Oilers, right?" And it's hilarious, right? And their one player, Nail Yakupov, right? Mm-hmm. There's one person put out a joke. It's like Edmonton's so bad they like their saviors pre-nailed, and I just thought that was hilarious. Something like that. I just laughed my butt off just reading that. And Lily was sitting beside me, "Daddy, what's so funny?" I'm like, you wouldn't get it yet, but it was funny. It was so funny. It made Daddy almost cry. But anyways, Guardians. I know I married the right gal because that's what she wanted to do for our wedding anniversary.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, she's like, let's go
Is
see
that right?
Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And yeah, we went and saw it. And
Did you take the kids or
no,
no?
we got a babysitter and everything, so it was just parent time. And yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun. You know, I didn't know anything like really about the Guardians at all. I didn't read the comics. I thought it was just some schlocky comics from the 70s, right? And I was really, you know, I guess it was nice. It was really nice to go into a comic book movie not knowing anything about it.
Oh yeah, I guess. Hey,
Yeah, it was kind of novel just to, well, hey, I'm seeing a comic book movie. Great, you know.
Because that never happens. Like that's
yeah.
What's the odds?
Yeah, like I mean, I knew of a bit of it. I mean, I can't help but know, like, okay, I know who Thanos is, and they're prepping for the Infinity Gauntlet series, and you know that kind of thing. But it was really cool just to watch it as a fan, as a comic book fan, as a Marvel fan or whatever. It was great. It was a great movie. So I liked. I was, I was joking. Coming out of it, I'm thinking, how did the pitch go? Like, how do you pitch a movie like that? You know, to someone in Hollywood, you know, you walk in there and, okay, we're going to make this movie, and there's going to be a cybernetic raccoon and a tree thing, and all it says is "I am Groot." But you know, like, how do you pitch that, right? But somebody did, and they did a good job. It was a great screenplay. Everything worked. You know, I've totally bought it.
Oh yeah, no,
I would probably pay to go see it a second time. It was that good.
I was thrilled. And I knew, I'd read a little bit. Like, I read some of the Infinity Watch stuff, so it's all the same characters, but you know, they've kind of, I don't know, they've kind of done stuff to them, pumped them up a little bit for this, like change them slightly, all in kind of good ways. Like they, you know, it all follows.
Okay.
But I don't know. It was excellent.
Well, you can do spoilers. I mean,
oh yeah.
Like, don't worry about.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about spoilers. So if anybody's watching or listening to this who hates spoilers, then I'm surprised you're watching or listening to this in the first place. Good on you. And then after that, you can leave.
We're gonna spoil it because it was a great movie. Yeah, just I don't know. Say what you gotta say.
Oh, just some of the stuff. I was there were things like, had you been watching the trailers and stuff leading up?
No. I mean, I did see the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and the Guardians were in that. Nova's still a lame character, but
it looks like they might do something with Nova too at some point. Like, on the the Marvel's Green Lantern ripoff and do a Nova thing, but.
Is that what Nova is? Green Lantern?
Yeah, pretty much. There's space cops, right? And he's like super space cop.
Is that what he is? I just thought he was.
He's like
dude.
Super space cop.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I just, whenever I think of Nova, I think of Stan Lee doing his voiceover stuff for his How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And he talks about Nova and Spidey facing off against Nova. And I'm like, Nova, what a lame character. Who cares, you know? Yeah, it's like Spider-Man facing off against someone who's, like, cool.
He's space cop.
Okay, space cop.
Yeah, and so that's what the whole, like, Nova Corps thing was. That they're the space cops, but they're not super powered. They don't have the super suit or whatever the Nova power he has. And
okay.
So then he gets he goes around and stops space criminals, I guess.
Very specific. Okay.
And
space cop.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so but so I read some Nova and stuff when I was a kid, and read.
I think you read anything that came by.
I did. Yeah. I was a comic tramp.
I did. I read everything. Everything.
If I could get it out of the trash, I read it.
Yeah, I never really got into the superhero comics that much when I was a kid, but I like I said, I watched this movie, and it it doesn't really feel as much like a superhero movie, kind of like just a kind of a fun sci-fi movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Well, and because
like
they're
Ice
not
Pirates, but better.
superheroes. You know? Ice Pirates, but better. That's the TV commercials are better than Ice Pirates.
Yeah, I know, but it's same kind of principle, right?
Sorta.
Huh?
Yeah. I kind of loved Ice Pirates when I was a kid, actually. So
Yeah, I mean, we did like Ice Pirates, you know.
but I also liked wrestling, so I got
Oh.
nothing to say about nothing.
I got nothing to say about nothing. I can tell you a story about wrestling in a minute, but anyways, keep talking about Guardians.
Some of the stuff from the trailers and things that they kind of hint at, and then they didn't do. Like
what?
the scenes in the trailers were different than the scenes as they actually play out.
Oh,
which
I
was
hate that.
Well, no, I was impressed that rather than give everything away in the trailer, they shot alternate scenes and put them in the trailers. So then you would go and you'd be like, oh yeah, that scene, and that scene never happens.
Okay.
So they didn't give away the best jokes in the trailer. It was just
okay.
So I was kind of impressed. And then I was also impressed that they didn't try to sexy up Gamora, the assassin. Like, because it wouldn't have fit her character, and that's the usual way of Hollywood, right? It's like
that's how
like
DC would have handled it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the same actress playing Uhura in Star Trek, and they sexy her up, and it's like, why do you like? Uhura's supposed to be. You're supposed to. I don't know. Whenever I watched Star Trek, I always thought she was supposed to be like. She's like the math nerd or something on the ship, right? Like she's got, well, she's the radio operator, but she's like the linguist, and science nerd, not the sexy one, right? Like,
right.
What?
Well, she's one of the boys. She's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a sex symbol in that regard, right?
She's like, not that Michelle Nichols was hard to look at by any stretch, but
no. I totally get what
but
you're
saying. They didn't try to play into that at all.
Right.
And I was impressed with this. I was like, it seemed more like that sensibility, that sort of Star Trek sensibility, where it was, you don't play into those tropes. You just, like, these are the characters and this is what they do. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have sort of like these weird icky scenes where you're like, well, why is that even in there? Like, it was to sell tickets to 13-year-old boys. Like,
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to sell tickets to 13-year-old boys to this movie. They come to, like, they're coming anyway.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with that. I thought, like, it stood out as something that was absent that I thought would be there. Uh-huh. And I was happy about that. Like, that they kind of got it.
Right.
That and the Nova planet, I can't remember the name of it, but
Nova Corps, yeah.
Whatever the name of that planet was, but they're the atrium area, or the place that looked kind of like a mall.
Yeah.
That they were fighting in,
mm-hmm.
looked like a nice mall. It looked like people lived and worked there, not like some weird set.
Right. It looked a little bit like Mass Effect.
It absolutely looked very Mass Effect. That's it. Yeah. I thought this looks like the Citadel.
Yeah.
But
that's what. Yeah. But maybe the Citadel's just such a iconic place now in nerd lore. You just can't get away from it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
what's your favorite place in the Citadel? And then, it was just I thought that was a really smart move, because you always get sort of these generic sci-fi sets that you can tell where all these things are, and having a place that looked like somewhere people just were. Like, people
Right.
just lived and worked here, and they were wandering to work, and they're having lunch in the park, and
Yeah.
it stops being too sci-fi-ish and being
Yeah.
like, I just see a bunch of people.
Yeah, it was kind of a different way to take the used universe concept that Lucas had, right? Like, it's a lived-in universe, but it's you know,
nice. It looks
yeah.
like a nice place to go.
Yeah, you're right.
Not like the typical, like,
Like,
everything
you don't
looks all
want to see
crummy
it get
and gross.
destroyed. You care about it when this bad guy comes around and he wants to,
Yeah, and
kill it for no reason. You're like, well, why? It's nice here. I want to have lunch in that park.
exactly.
Yeah.
And more than that, even, that you see that, like, it's just a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's not like the cantina where it's like a bunch of weird aliens, and then if somebody just came in and started shooting the place up, you'd be like, ooh, why do you shoot all those weird aliens? Even though, like, half of them are red or purple or whatever, you're just, well, it's just a bunch of people walking around. Like,
I love that
they kinda
you
sold it.
can just make like the cantina and just assume that I would know which cantina you're talking about, right?
I know you know which cantina.
No, but I just love it. Star Wars has permeated our vernacular so much that we can just say something like that and just assume that everybody knows what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, if
Any-
they don't, I don't want to associate with them. What
Yeah.
cantina?
What cantina? Okay,
No.
you know where
No.
the door is. Right. Okay. So, anyways, you were talking more.
Oh no.
Are you done?
That's it. That's what
Oh.
I like. I like two things, I guess.
Okay. Well,
No,
like
I
I never
liked a
read
lot
the
of it.
comics, so I kind of going into it, I thought Rocket Raccoon, what a stupid character. He sounds like an idiot, right?
Oh, he's
And,
great.
Yeah, I think he was fun. It was believable. You sympathize for all of them, even Drax the Destroyer. I'm like, okay, just another generic wrestler, But the comedic elements, like scenes with him, just the way they did stuff, and that Steph really got a kick out of Rocket, that whole scene where he's like, I need the guy's leg just because it'll be funny. I'm like, does the comic books play out like that? Like,
They do
comic
now,
books?
yeah. The old Infinity Watch, they were a bit more serious. They were a little bit goofy, and now they're much more silly and jokey. But they kind of changed them in that time. Like, I don't know, I probably talked a lot about there was Justice League Europe when they went on a run of Justice League Europe, and they just did away with all the super serious tone of everything, and it would be half comedy, and then everything that was, when they were in some sort of situation, it was so dire, like they would flip on a dime. So it was very, I guess, kind of Joss Whedon-ish, like the sort of where when things are really dark, like it's pitch black. There's no, yeah, and then the rest of the time it's kind of light and funny, and when you do that, everything feels a lot more real and urgent, and they were doing that for that comic, and this was either a response or just they kind of hit on the same themes at the same time.
Well, I was watching Thor: The Dark World the other day, and that's one thing I think you hit on that's interesting, that you get kind of fatigued from, it's the save the world, or save the universe. It's always like, if we don't do something, the world or the universe will be completely destroyed. Like, it's fatiguing, right? It's always the same, save the world, blah, 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 and it gets old, right? Like, Spider-Man's nice because he's just trying to save his girlfriend or get a job or whatever. It's a nice break.
That's what the Spider-Man comics were always fantastic, because he always had, he'd have a fight, and then he'd have a problem paying his rent, or he'd be getting, he'd have to drop a class because he kept sleeping through it,
Yeah, yeah,
And that, it's fantastic. 'Cause it
yeah,
makes you feel more for the character.
yeah. You do, right? And yeah, watch. I guess I get fatigued. So you watch. Like, I think you're going to see a little more. Like, I know I was reading about how Marvel, they basically went to a bunch of, they hired a bunch of screenwriters or whomever, and they said, okay, let's here's a bunch of our IPs that we haven't made into movies yet, and let's find a way to make money off these. Like, pick one and let's go. And that's sort of how Guardians was developed, I think. And it's nice to see something different, I guess is what I'm going to get at in a long way. Something a little fun, a little different, not quite. It happens in space, so it doesn't. We don't see a city that we all know get destroyed again. Like, let's just have some fun.
They did thoroughly rough up a city, but
but it was a space city, so it was.
Space cities don't matter.
Yeah,
space
whatever.
cities got no rights.
Pink children that were saved. It's all good. Whatever. But you know what I'm saying, I think, right? Like, you just get a little fatigued by the same kind of story or narrative. And I think that's one thing about comic books is they are always epic, right?
Yeah.
It's always save the planet. And I'm hoping that Marvel doesn't, burn it into the ground so much with these epic, either we win, save the day, or the whole planet's destroyed. Like, I hope they kind of lean back a little bit on those types of stories.
Yeah, I think...
Because you got to save them. You can't just use it every single time.
I think they're established enough now that they can. Like, they could do something that the situation would be very dire just for that character. Like,
right.
you can set up something like that where it's not...
I think they kind of did that with the Winter Soldier story for Captain America, right? Like,
a little bit. Of course, Hydra would have been raining on high with space lasers or whatever it was that they were doing there, but yeah, it wasn't like they were going to destroy the world. Like, it wasn't some sort of colossal monstrosity or that, and even though it wasn't really them, it's still Marvel stuff. The Wolverine,
right,
was very, it didn't really matter to anybody else but him,
right?
If things went bad,
and that's what I want to see more of, those types of comic book movies where it's just, okay, we're going to tell a cool story now, and it's not, the world needs to be saved. Let's just tell a cool story, and all the X-Men movies were like that. They're all about the world needs to be saved from Magneto or whomever, right? Let's just see just a good story with cool characters and have some fun, that's what I would like to see more now coming out of comic. And that's why Guardians, although they did save the galaxy, but
sort kind of in a roundabout way, like
they didn't call them the Guardians of the Galaxy to the very end of the movie, right? Because they're not really; they're sort of just misfits. Although my buddy was saying Drax apparently is strong enough to go toe to toe with the Hulk. Is that true?
Supposedly in some way, shape, or form in the in the comic, but I don't know. They keep changing that. I could go, oh no, absolutely not, but whatever.
Okay.
It's the whole, like, how do you kill a vampire thing? Any way you want, they're not real. That's the
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Because you could be strong as the Hulk now, today, and then tomorrow he could, I don't know, slip on a pigeon, something. I don't know. Whatever.
Sure, I get you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Tell me then. I don't know.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. I didn't really know, right? So, I did go. I went to a comic book store yesterday, and I haven't been to one in Calgary here, where Owen and I live. The only one in town is called Another Dimension. At least the big one, right?
Yeah,
or the one that's been around the longest. There's a couple other ones, but that's the main one, is Another Dimension, right? And it still had the same dude working behind the counter that's been working there for 20 years. He's just old. He still has his 1980s one single gold ring in his ear, But now he's got gray hair. But he still dresses the same. It's like the same guy, and he just got old. It's hilarious. But the biggest thing I noticed, and this ties in with all the Marvel and marketing, how busy it was. Back in the day, you wander into AD on like a 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, it'll be dead. You are the only guy in the store, kind of thing, right? I walked in and it was packed, and it wasn't just packed; it was packed with chicks, right?
Oh yeah.
Like chicks, and even one of the girls behind the counter was a girl. Like it was a girl working the till.
The girl was a girl.
Yeah,
This girl was a girl.
There was a girl there, and she had boobs. It was funny because there was a lot of girls there, and they weren't just hanging out with their boyfriend. They were buying books and comics and looking at stuff, right? And the places, I felt like going in, like when you go into some of those stores in Chinatown where it's the only room between the aisles is for your shoulders. It's just shoulder width apart. Like the aisles are so crammed, floor to ceiling with plastic packaging, and that's what AD has become. It's just you can barely get through the aisles. They're so packed with merchandise.
I haven't been in there for
oh yeah, and Marvel Comics alone had a section that was it took up like a fifth of the store. And it was never like that before, right? In all the different incarnations of the comic book store, I guess what I'm saying is Disney has pumped a lot of capital into Marvel, and they're just cranking out books. And there's 5 different Spider-Man titles, and however many.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed there's a lot. Like I got the Marvel app, the Marvel Unlimited thing.
Sure.
When they're doing it they had it for 99 cents.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, and I went and I got that, and now I'm probably on for whatever it is, $10 a month from now on out, because I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I like comics, and I've been, every couple of nights I'll be like, I think I'll read a couple of comics, and you can queue up whatever, because I got thousands of them in there, and I'll read something. Mm-hmm. And so many of the new ones, like they're all the old characters, but they're all like just totally different things, like stuff I had, I don't know, they're different. So I was kind of getting back into a couple of them, and they're not poorly written, like they're decent. So yeah, you're right, they're putting some effort into all of their old stuff, and not just trying to like new universe it and be like, well, let's make something totally new to sell comics. And it's like, no, you know what? People kind of just want to read Spider-Man. But you might as well give them 4 different Spider-Mans.
Yeah. We got to make
Spider-Man.
some money off this, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2099. Oh,
I like Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man 2099.
Well,
I think I was the
someone had
only
to.
person who did.
Yeah. Someone had to own. Might as well have been you.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. I mean, Marvel's, and I think it makes sense from a business standpoint that you have all of these properties, right? And let's make some money off them or see what sticks, right? Let's throw enough against it and see what sticks. And like a lot of the properties have been purchased by other people to make movies, like the X-Men and whatever, right?
Right.
So I think Marvel's going, okay, well, let's make some, like, instead of having legal battles off of properties that we've already sold away years ago, right? Let's start, breaking new ground. Like, why else would they introduce Power Man and the Iron Fist to the Spider-Man cartoon, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to, okay, let's make a movie out of this character again.
Well,
and
they're making a TV series
show?
out of them, out of
Really?
Power Man and Iron Fist, which makes perfect sense because it's like
made for TV. Yeah.
Well, it's super powered. I don't know. Name your private detective movie or TV series from the 80s, right? Like,
right.
It's a Magnum.
Is that what they were? Yeah, wasn't he Hero for Hire? Isn't that what?
Yeah, they're like private detectives.
Yeah.
So, which is, that sounds fantastic. You do a superhero private detective show that's like I don't know, Simon and Simon or something.
Yeah.
And I'm all over that.
It'd be funny though if they did him like, the way he would like, "Sweet sister," and he'd just say all those lines.
I think they might have to give that up,
Oh,
unless they
those are
said it
hilarious.
in the 70s.
Yeah, but they were just hilarious, or just like put him in
some
as
sort
Easter
of
eggs.
Iceman.
Huh?
Have him be some sort of Iceman. He was frozen since the 70s.
Well, that'd be funny.
Doesn't know how to talk.
Yeah, but as long as he doesn't talk like 50 Cent, going around like, "Oh, Red," like, come on, he's Power Man. He doesn't have to be.
No, I think he should probably just talk like a guy. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And the Iron Fist, the way they've characterized him in the cartoon, I think is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched that with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I watch it. I don't know if they care for it, but they're in the room, so I'm going to watch it.
I was at the bookstore the other day, and I got this thing. If I go into a used bookstore and I just have to go through the art section trying to find old art books, but also like how to. I love those, like obscure ways to do art, because most people do digital now. But once upon a time, we didn't have computers and we had to use things like templates and T-squares and things like that. And I love finding these books. But anyways, I found one on how to draw the Transformers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's done by the Dreamwave guys, but from the book's like from 2005 or 2007, and it's really good. Like if I had that book as a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old, I would have lost my mind. It was the exact book I was looking for. So I found this, and it's all G1 Transformers, like how to draw them that way. And Lily saw that. She's like, "Oh, that's great. Can we watch Transformers?" So now we're watching Transformers, and
Like the whole series? Or?
Yeah, well, the cartoon, the G1,
Yeah.
I made the mistake of watching the new Michael Bay abortion. That is a
Oh,
Transformer.
no. Yeah, I wasn't about to do that.
Well, I'm like, that's a Transformers movie. It's like a car accident. I just can't look away. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, wow, whoever edited this is a moron. This makes no sense. It's just like all the other, oh, wait. Michael Bay directed this too. Oh, okay, now it makes sense. Like, I didn't think I thought he just produced it.
Oh, yeah.
He must have directed it, and
He did.
the guy does not know how to edit. There are so many there's so many plot holes in the movie. Like, where did this guy come from? What happened here? How come you find yourself watching it, wondering what just happened, right?
Yep. It doesn't
and then,
matter. Blow up something else.
Yeah, let's see some more boobs. Go, go, go.
See, there you go. Like did they like uber sexy up the female character, whoever she was?
Oh yeah.
See,
show
garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage. Why? Why
Yeah.
bother? Why not have her be a character in the story?
Yeah. They brought in a character, like a guy who's a Texas teenager who's Irish who can drive cars. Like, who cares? Like, why? Is this just a vehicle to pump up this guy's tires for his career? What? Like, why? Like, it doesn't serve the story at all to have him there.
Well, and
except maybe he's like Michael Bay's best buddy or something. Who knows? The guy just shouldn't be allowed to make.
The thing I say about those movies, hey, who should really star in a Transformers movie? Optimus Prime.
Yeah, he is almost. He's a secondary character, pretty much.
It is.
He's there, and even the way they characterize him, he doesn't talk much. It's almost like his dialogue is put in as an afterthought. Like he's. Yeah, I don't. There's a whole generation of kids growing up thinking that's what Transformers are. It's just.
Well, but then they have the cartoons that have been somewhat decent, so.
Yeah.
Some of them, yeah. So,
some of them. The problem with the series, or the toy, I guess the problem I have with the toy work compared to, say, the other comic brands, like, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? The Guardians, they're just trying to tell fun stories and sell a few comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Transformers, it's always been about selling toys. Like, the comics and everything are just sort of to service the toy market, right? And they'd always introduce new characters whenever the new toy line came out for that year, or for Christmas, and every time you watch a Transformers TV show, cartoon, whatever, it's like Optimus Prime but in a different body, or new character. Like it's basically just, how do we make you buy more toys? You know, and I just get weary of that. You know, I just like to see a good show. You know, I just keep the characters the way they were, and just tell some fun stories. Because storytelling always is a secondary with that franchise.
Yeah.
In my
well, yeah. Even no, I guess sometimes it wasn't. Even I was going to say even in the comics or even in the cartoons it was sometimes too. Like I collected all the comics, like the Transformers comics, and I would always be disappointed when they would do an issue where they would just introduce a new character and then kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I knew that was just so that they were told to advertise this toy.
Right.
And so they bring him in, then kill him. And it was just like, well, like, for what reason did you do that? Like, why even bother bringing him in? Like,
Well, they did that. They made Blaster into quite the character, right?
Yeah.
In the comic books, and it's like, Blaster, really? And in the cartoon, he's just secondary at best, right?
Blaster was my favorite character in the comic books.
In the comics, he was such a badass rebel, right? And then in the, you know, that's when it diverged so different. We got really, as a kid, you're confused, right? Because these characters are, well, he's like this here, but he's not like that there, and what just happened? And you know,
yeah,
the comic
tell
book
people
had
Blaster's
so much
awesome, and they'd be like, hey, you're smoking wallpaper guy.
Yeah. I guess the European or the British Transformers comics were apparently quite good.
They were.
Went on for a long time.
Yeah, I got, I don't know, probably maybe like 20 or 25 of those at one point, and yeah, they were really good. And they didn't really do that thing where they'd introduce a character and get rid of them. And they had characters die or get, you know, taken out of commission for ages just in the middle of a regular issue. Just you know, just be going along, and they had like consequences for this, you know, pastel colored laser fire that kept flying around everywhere. Unlike G.I. Joe or whatever, where everybody seems to just dance between them, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I think because they're robots, they could get away with a bit more.
Oh yeah, they
it's a robot,
would be messed up, and then they would come back. Like I remember, there was one where Mirage was all
his arm was blown off.
He was just messed right up, and he's dragging himself out of a swamp, and this is incredible. Why is this not in the other stuff? Yeah. And then you realize how kind of kiddie all the rest of it is, like how much of a commercial it is, and then you start your, you know, long, slow, jaded walk into adulthood.
Good way to put it, Owen. Good way to put it. Yeah. I was at, I got a neighbor who, he just likes to troll Kijiji, those types of things, right? And I don't know how it worked out, but he ended up buying like a couple of boxes of old comic books. Just someone's like, here, I got a box of comic books. Time to go. You know, who wants them? I'll, you know, and bid and buy kind of thing, right? So he got himself a couple of these boxes of old comics, but he hasn't had a chance to go through them all. So I was over there and we were going through them, and you know, it's funny. We just saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and he opens it up, and there's just a stack of them on top, right? And,
of the old ones.
Yeah, but it was weird, like Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're all wearing Punisher outfits. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Made me think, was the comic book back in the day kind of like a what if series? They do a lot of that kind of stuff.
No, it could get a little weird because, you know, it was one of their not as good selling books, so then they let them get a little strange. I don't remember that particular issue. Probably didn't fall out of the garbage truck, so I didn't get it.
Well, it was kind of fun because you know, I'm just a nerd for this old stuff anyways, and he had quite the eclectic collection, whoever it was, you know, whoever's it was, but there was a bunch of, like, there's a lot of like Rob Liefeld X-Force in there, and I'm just laughing my whole way looking through it, you know, and
So
my
that's an
neighbor,
unconventional way to draw a bicep.
yeah. Well, my neighbor, he's a comic book fan, but he's not he doesn't know the artists and the all that kind of stuff. He knows the characters and the stories and things, but he's not into who's the writers and artists and things like that. And he has a couple of Jack Kirby like characters I've never even heard of. Like issues like I want to say like Captain Atom or something like that, like something weird that you've never heard of. At least I've never heard of. Definitely not mainstream. And it's kind of cool to see a vintage Jack Kirby comic. Mm-hmm. It's not very often you just pull one out of a comic book box and go, "Hey, that's Jack Kirby," right? Nothing really cool like old Conan, at least nothing that I found. But yeah, there's a lot of comics to go through, and just I don't know, scores like that. Those are pretty cool. As just a fan of the medium, it's just fun to go through it all, right?
Oh yeah.
I guess with your Marvel subscription, can you just look up any story ever? Like, have they scanned them all?
Yeah, there's a bunch that are kind of missing pieces as they scan them and put them together. Because when I went through, I looked, well, like, okay, show me some of these ancient, like some really old Fantastic Four or something. Right. And they've gone through and like they're not just scanned, they're kind of like remastered. They've cleaned everything up, so all the pages are perfectly white. They pumped up the color. Everything looks like new and glossy, and they've cleaned up all the little glitches and stuff. So it must take a while to do.
That must just be Disney.
Maybe like they started doing this before, and then they kind of stopped. Like I was like fully on board. I was going to go get the subscription because that seems. Even if you get the newest issues like 6 months to a year late, I kind of don't care. Like, but yeah, it's all the older stuff that I've seen on there is really, really cleaned up. Everything's really nice. And it's not on that like kind of gross brown paper with flecks of green in it because it was some old recycled newspaper and magazines and stuff. Like. It's all really, really sharp. So, yeah,
there's something about that
a lot in there.
The old presentations, though, it gave it a kind of character, though, too.
Yeah, like the art looks the same. It's like if you bought it fresh. Like if you bought it like the best paper you could get it on, and you got it that day. Right. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
No paper grain or anything, but. That wouldn't really work for your iPad or whatever anyway, so. Yeah, well,
I guess that sounds kind of neat. It's nice that they're preserving it, too, right? One thing, a neat product they had at the comic book shop was large format comic books.
Oh, yeah.
But they're...
Like giant size ones or just large format?
Like they're... the next size up from 11 by 17. So I'd say they're maybe 28 inches tall.
Right.
They were quite big. They're about $200, leather bound, right? Like embossed leather covers. And it's like blow-ups of, X-Men or Spider-Man. Or I think that they did it by artists, so like John Romita or they had a Jack Kirby one that I looked at. And it's a zoom up of the original pages, so you can see the pencils and the inks. You can see where they made their corrections and that kind of thing. I thought it was kind of neat to see. Not something you see very often. A little different, pricey. Whew, really pricey.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of their,
like where would you put something like that?
Yeah, me wouldn't. That's like I just. I'm kind of glad of the not having, as much as it is sort of cool to have the paper books. It's not. I'd rather just have them on, digital and pull them up whenever. And
yeah. Well, again, like the products they carry now, like they have their Sideshow collectibles, like those figurines, right? And man, like. I just was, okay, whatever. Oh, look, a Cobra Commander doll. And I open it up and take a look at it, and it was like $220-something. Right?
Right. And it's all like all like tailored cloth.
Super, yeah, like it's super
uniforms
detailed. Like really, it's good stuff. But I got bills to pay, man. Like I don't like G.I. Joe that much that I'd spend that kind of money on a Cobra Commander doll, Besides, most of them just sit in someone's shelf, and they made them for like characters that you've never even heard of or you haven't seen in a long time, and can't tell you how many variations of Wolverine. I guess what I'm trying to get across is, the comic book industry is, at least from the marketing standpoint, I don't think it's ever been better. Even in the the heyday when they had in the 90s with Image Comics coming out, they were never selling stuff like this. They weren't.
No, I think getting a lot more people behind the stories and to know the characters and feel like you can jump in on a book and be like, yeah, well, I guess I know that character because I saw those 2 movies, and you're probably right. Like, the characters have been pretty accurate, and so you probably can jump into it.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, it's fun. It's a good time to be a comic book fan. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Do your boys have a favorite one?
No, I keep trying to get them to, but because I tell them, hey, you should read these, and they're not going to. So I'm gonna have to do something where I just like leave them laying around.
Yeah.
and then put stuff like, hey, you shouldn't read that, and then be like, they'll be all over it.
Yeah, so your kids do that too. It's like, if my parents want me to do it, I won't do it. But if someone else is doing it, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
You think I'd be smart enough to figure out that reverse psychology thing, but
except for games, for some reason, I can usually pitch a game and they'll be all in on it. So,
well, a game is almost less of a commitment than a book, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
I think you pick it up, put it down, a little disposable, different sort of interaction, right? Whereas a book, you pick it up, it's a little more intimate, in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think they're thinking that far ahead, but maybe.
No, it's just on their, just subconscious level. I'm guessing. I can't get. Lily doesn't. If I say, put both your shoes on, she'll be like, no, I only want to wear one. She'll just fight you over everything. So. Your shoes on the wrong foot. No. Oh no.
Whatever. It's your foot, kid.
Yeah. Want to wear jammies to school? That's fine. Not going to want to do that when you're a teenager. That kind of stuff, right? You pick your battles, but yeah, she'll fight you if she can. Over most things. Just out of principle.
Yep.
It might serve her well later on in life, but right now it makes parenting really challenging. Or at least, exercise and patience. So,
you were going to tell me some wrestling story.
Oh.
You got some about wrestling?
Right. I'll tell you. This will be my last story, and then I'm going to shut it down.
Sounds good.
Something.
That was my subtle play.
Okay.
You got one more.
I'm talking to you. Well, there's last story, so I don't hear about it. Okay. 2 weeks ago, another neighbor of mine had tickets to WWF, or WWE is what they call it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to go check out a wrestling match? I'm like, yeah, okay. I haven't seen a wrestling match since I was a kid. I thought this would be fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still brag that I saw Hulk Hogan wrestle the Earthquake for the title, and it's like one of the highlights of my life. Even though he probably had that exact same match like 80 times, playing out all throughout the world or Canada. But to me, as a kid, I thought wrestling was real, and I thought that wasn't scripted, and this is the real deal. I'm seeing a title match, and it was fun, right? So I go to WWF, and it hasn't changed at all.
No,
at all. The script is the same.
No, they kind of got it down.
Yeah, like the matches, they had all the same stuff. Like Bret the Hitman Hart came out at the end to help save the day against Jericho wrestling.
Really?
So, yeah,
they wheel him out. Was he on a Segway?
Yeah, no, he could barely get over the ropes, but he got over the ropes and threw a couple of punches.
Good for him.
And the crowd went crazy, and they like same like the guy who it was Jericho for the title or the final match, right? The big match. And
Jericho?
Yeah.
Jeez, man. They're just bringing them all back.
Yeah, well,
he hasn't wrestled in years.
Is it Jericho? No, Y2K.
Sure.
Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, he did his thing, and it was exactly the same as how Hulk Hogan did it. And he's in a sleeper hold, and he's about to go down, and then the one arm drop, two arm drop, and the crowd's cheering. And the third arm, he starts shaking, and then he gets the momentum, and then he throws the guy around. And it was exactly the same as it was when I was a kid. So, after the intermission, we just sat in the back and ate chicken wings, and you're not missing anything. It's pretty scripted, right? But the first half was kind of fun.
Was this pay-per-view or?
No, it was at the Saddle Dome.
Oh, is that actual thing going on? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And it was fun to see. And I noticed the athletes are way, way better than back in the day. Like they move and they do some pretty fun.
Yeah. There's been a move towards the more. See, this is where we get we'll get talking about my waned interest and now renewed interest in wrestling, or the weirdnesses of wrestling. I kind of find it fascinating. But yeah, all the new, like doing the Japanese style or the Mexican style, where there's a lot more movement and they really do a lot more.
Well, they did a lot more. They had some really interesting moves. I saw was one chick do they did a 3-on-3 women's tag team match, and the one chick who won, she did a double sharpshooter. So she put two girls in a sharpshooter at the same time for submission, and I'm like, I have not seen that before. That's interesting. And I was joking with Mike because I remember Stampede Wrestling when we were kids, and even WWF, they always opened with midgets wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess little people is the term.
Well, yeah, for whatever reason in wrestling, they still call it midget wrestling. I think they just call it that, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, political correctness,
as weird as
we'll go about
that
that later.
But that's what they say.
And I was like, it doesn't feel like a wrestling match unless we see midgets wrestling. And sure enough, it opens up, and it was a tag team match each of the guys on, like the good guys and the bad guys, each had a midget with them. So it was like a 3-on-3 tag team, and there was like a midget in like a matador, or dressed up like a bull, and the other guy was a matador. I don't know. It was funny just to see midgets wrestling and jumping off the ropes, and I'm like, okay, I'm at a wrestling match now.
Yeah,
like, I've arrived. We are here.
This is the way the game's played.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to see and take part in, and just like old times. The lineup to get a beer was ridiculous. Ugh. The Saddle Dome, when they only have 5,000 people and they're not there to see a Flames game, are
just close everything down.
Yeah, it was like you could hear crickets chirping, and it's a different crowd that go to a wrestling match than what you'd see at a hockey game.
Yeah, it didn't used to be, but yeah, now I think the only people who are still on, because I think wrestling's sort of it's in the slow phase, like they kind of goes in cycles, and they kind of have a low phase where nobody watches it, and then I think they're kind of in that right now.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Like,
I agree.
I haven't regularly watched any for years, decades probably, but you hear a little bit, and you're like, yep. Same stories, same characters, same things they're doing, and
yeah, it hasn't changed at all. It's great.
Good to know.
It was great. It was fun to see. It was something different. Something to do, and I'm glad I went. But I don't think I need to go for another 20 years. I haven't missed anything, and that's my wrestling story.
I liked it.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad I was able to entertain you for a few minutes there, Owen.
So, did you get any further on your stuff there?
Yeah, airbrushing the helmet, just getting all the gradients and the ellipses and all the, like I said before when we started this, the graphics down, it just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think the only part that I would consider done is the skull to his left on the top part of his thing, but I still have to do there's a lot of red, if you see the picture, there's lots of red
Oh,
and
okay.
flame sort of stuff in the black, as well as some gradients on the skull at his mouth, and of course the text of his name and the holes in the helmet where the air holes are, and all that kind of stuff, right? Like I
There's
got
a lot of things.
yeah, like the helmet is a lot of work, and I'm not looking forward to doing the goalie mask on the body, like the full figure, because that's I mean, it might be easier.
You could go a lot looser on that, right?
I could, I've got an illness where if I can render it, I will. I mean, even today, I'm like right now on another a job. I'm doing a cavalry charge for Medieval Warfare magazine. I'm doing a bunch of historical illustrations based off of Richard the Lionheart, right? So I'm doing a cavalry painting and another scene of the Siege of Acre, and they both of them take place, and the characters are all in the middle ground, right? So if I looked at you, at least with my eyes, at 50 yards away, I wouldn't be able to make out like all the pores on your nose and all the details, right? Like it's just a shape and like the shapes of your face and the general features. But mostly in outdoor lighting, it's pretty flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but want to get in there and just really beef up the detail, and and realistically you would never see that, right? That's sort of the line you cross when you're illustrating. Like you can do as much as you want, right? And when you look at historical paintings, they render up as much as they can and then work their way backwards. So you always have the depth is given, like they render up all the main figures and the foreground figures, right? And that gives it that depth. But it's a false illusion of reality. Like that's not what reality looks like. And nowadays, a lot of times artists are trying to just recreate what a camera does. So you're kind of striking that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, today I was looking at people at the playground at the lake, and I'm like, I can cut back on this and zoom in on this, and maybe I shouldn't put so much effort on there, and just try to focus more on energy. Like these are the things that I think about. So, anyways, the thing is, for a piece like this, you got to get the goalie mask right.
Yeah.
Right. You got to get the mask right, and there's a little more forgiveness with the likeness because most of it's obscured by the mask, anyways. It's pretty hard to tell. You don't even see the full shape of his nose or only one eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like the likeness. There's only so much you can do, but the mask has got to be bang on. And the same with things like the logos and stuff. Like if the logo doesn't look right, then it doesn't look right. You can't avoid it, right?
You should probably, if you can't sell it, you should probably just paint an octopus inside the mask. Arms are dangling out.
Yeah, there you go. Octo goalie. Well, I've thought about it. I think I've seen in some where they don't paint the logos on the sticks and the padding, like the goalie pad logos. Maybe for licensing issues.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, like, you can probably get away with doing the helmet because that's, that'll be his thing. That's
right.
He'll have gotten that license from whatever, paid for that, have that done. But the other, you might, Easton will be, hey.
Yeah, exactly. So you wonder, like, well, I mean, it's not that big of a deal to paint them out, but painting them in. At least it's easier to paint them out later if they don't want it, than, later on, okay, we'll paint it in, plus it adds an extra texture and, like realism to the whole piece. So I don't know. What do you think so far? I'm also going to throw in like ice shavings and things to make it look dramatic. I thought about putting in a couple things like some of the goalie trophies he won and some of his awards and things like that. But right now I'm just trying to keep it simple.
Yeah, looks all right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Alrighty.
I like it.
You liked it? It passes Owen's smell test?
Yeah.
What about yourself? What are you doing there?
Cattails.
Okay. For
making tiled environment pieces. So, like, have a bunch.
Is this for Dungeon Caddy?
Yeah. So I got a bunch of tiles of different things. I got some rocks and I got some grass, and they can be laid out, repeated all through a thing. So you can make a whole forest, or you can make a whole bunch of grass, or you can make a whole bunch of whatever, and it shouldn't look like it repeats.
Okay.
If
How far
if
along are
copy
you on
along.
that?
Well, it works. Like you can play it, but
Right.
all the graphics are all stand-in.
Okay.
But
So
I'm
you
I'm
basically
going
just
through
have
and
to do the
replacing all the graphics right now. Yeah.
Okay. So how long till you think you're done?
37 years
Okay.
or 6 months,
Okay.
somewhere in between there.
Okay.
I have no idea. It's it's the when I'm able to actually work, when I work on it steady for 6-8 hours or something at a stretch, and then I get a lot done. But
Right.
the rest of the time, not so much. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think maybe that is our
Yep.
cue to shut her down for the night. So
Hang it up.
I'm hanging up. I'm
Okay.
stopping recording now.